All right, Jeff Douglas. It's so good to see you, my friend. It's been a long time.
You too, John. Been great. Good to see you again. Yeah.
So we met at Aperio.
Many
Yes,
moons ago.
a long time ago. You had quite a career there.
And you
Um,
yourself?
and it's been a long time. But one thing I like to ask people is, how did you get into cloud computing? I know you're not a consultant anymore, but how did you get into consulting? And then first cloud computing, right?
So I was working at, it must have been 2000, so late 1999. So just dating myself now. We were doing a
Yes,
lot of
we're,
SAP work.
we're both old, Jeff.
Is it? That's true. Yeah. Well, you
Yeah,
look much younger than I do. So
I
because
have
you took
Ralph Macchio disease.
what's it? Benjamin Button's disease? No, so
Yes. Yeah.
so I was doing SAP work, and then the whole .com thing busted and everything, and I took some time off. I think I was working at a nonprofit for a while, just helping them out in Texas, and then I wanted to get back into SAP. So I happened to see that my local town here had an SAP shop for some international
Yes.
company out of London. And so I went and applied there, and they had no SAP jobs available, but they did have something called Salesforce. And I was like, oh, Salesforce, cool. So they're like, well, do you know Salesforce? I'm like, yeah, I know Salesforce. I'm the best at Salesforce. So and I had never heard of Salesforce before in my life, never. So I spent the next 2 weeks like just brushing up, like, what is Salesforce? This is 2007.
Oh
Like,
wow.
like
Early days.
yeah, early days. So
Before Apex and everything, right?
yeah, it was still JavaScript. It was all
Okay.
JavaScript back then.
Yeah.
Actually, the end of and so I went there, interviewed, got the job, and they were a .NET shop. So we wrote all this .NET, a lot of Microsoft work, and we started doing Salesforce work. It was great because back then it was still really new, and there was, I remember we had like, I don't know, 15 independent companies inside one org.
Yes.
So it was like, how do you share and hide stuff from the other org? So I remember that like every Friday we had like a 2-hour meeting. It was just arguing over who gets to see pick list values. And it
Wow.
was called the pick list meeting. It was all it was.
Yes.
And I remember that, but it was just a challenge, like, how do we make sure everybody's right access or doesn't have access? So
Yeah.
I got that job and I did that for about a year and a half. And then I remember I had gone to Dreamforce, and I can't remember. Oh, I know what it was. I met Tom Scott.
Oh God, yeah.
So
There's a name.
when I first started at this company, I went and took a class on Apex, and Tom Scott was teaching it out of
Oh
Boston,
wow.
like that. And I met Tom there. And then, so I don't know, 6 months, 9 months later, I went to Dreamforce. And this is when we had, Pierre was always really famous for having the best parties at Dreamforce. Remember that? So this was like the second year they had a party. I can't remember where it was at, but I'm there at Dreamforce with my boss and a coworker, and we go to this Imperial party, and I'm standing there, at the party. I can't remember what we're doing, but Tom Scott's next to me, and he kind of leans in. He goes, "If you ever want a job, you just let me know." And I said, "Okay, Tom." And like, I don't know, 6 months later, I hit him up for it, and that's how I got into consulting at Imperial. And that was early days. I mean, that was 2008 probably then, and I think I was employee 133 at the time around then. So, but it was great, man. I loved Imperial. Everybody there is great. I mean, well, there's so many Imperial alumni who are still in industry and have all these great companies. And it's just cool to see how all these people have exploded in industry, and they're all doing well.
Yeah.
It's good to see.
Yeah, the legacy left behind by Aperio is really something. All these, my current employer, Atrium, it's, I think 3 of the 4 founders are former Aperio people. It's funny, internally we're not allowed to talk about Aperio, and I really respect that, right? Because not everybody worked there, so you don't want to have the Aperians and non-Aperian tribe. Plus, you don't want to. A lot of great things happen at Aperio, but you don't want to like recreate it, right? Because it was kind of a time and place. I know one thing I know about you before you got into your career. Really, you were in the military. Tell me about your time in the Army, and what have you learned? What did that teach you? What did that do for you?
So I knew, like, I don't know why I got in the military. I think my grandma was in the military, and my dad and everything was in the military, but I don't remember why I wanted to join the military. All I remember is that my junior year, I signed up for the military.
Okay.
I knew I was going in my senior year. So I got a job in satellite communications.
Yeah.
And it was great because I know I wanted to go over to Europe. So when you're in the military, when you finish basic training and you're guaranteed a job, they ask you where you want to be stationed at. So I put Germany, Germany, Germany for where I wanted to go to Germany. So luckily I got to go to Germany, and it was a great experience, man. I think the military is an awesome, I mean, as long as you don't get killed, it's an awesome place to grow up. And I think a lot of it's, I mean, it's good for everybody. I think for guys, most guys are dumb until they're about 25 anyways.
Yeah,
So, you
45. Yeah.
know, yeah. So I think it was a good spot just to grow up
Right.
and learn discipline and good work skills and work ethic, you know, stuff like that. So for me, it was great. Just taught me a lot of awesome things about self-reliance and work habits and stuff like that, and doing the right thing. And it was awesome. I got out, and then I went back to college, and I went to ROTC. I was planning on going in back as an officer. So I did 3 years of ROTC in college, and then I knocked my wife up twice and decided I wasn't going to go back in anymore. So, but it was a great experience. I mean, all my kids are in the military. My wife's in the military. So all 4 of my kids, let's see, 2 are out, and 1 is a reservist. He's a medic, and other one is a special operations soldier, speaks Arabic, all that great stuff.
Wow.
He's been in 12 years, and now he's going to go back. Well, he's actually in college now to become an officer, and he graduates next month as an officer. So, but he's the real deal. You know, he's the 6 tours in the Middle East, all that good stuff. So.
Yeah. I mean, talk about like not getting killed. A lot of jobs in the military, from what I know, are not that dangerous, right? There's behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
There's, you know, satellite communications, right? That's
well, actually, I was in the field all the time, though. I was stationed with I was with the Pershing missiles, the nuclear missiles in Germany.
Right, but if you became a target, it would be a problem for everybody, I think, at that point.
Yeah, that's true.
When there's no place to hide. You'd be the lucky one to go first, maybe. So now you went to the mothership, Salesforce, and you've been there how long now?
Almost 7 years now. Yeah, it's been a hot minute.
Wow, it seems like yesterday. And you're part of the Trailhead team.
Correct.
When I talk about Trailhead, I always think of you think of all the stuff Salesforce has done. Let's say in the last 7 years, Trailhead is like, to me, one of the most innovative and interesting things any software company has done. And you don't see anything like it. So what is it like to be on the inside?
You know, it's awesome. It's like, it started this little tiny thing. I don't know if you remember that, but this was like 2014. Josh Burke wrote this little tiny app called, I think, Medals or Awards, so that he could see if you've done something. And it was literally the last bullet point, I think, in the developer keynote. I get this thing called awards or medals. Go check it out. And then it did pretty well, and then it kind of took off. And then I joined Salesforce, you know, shortly after that. I was the first person hired to work on Trailhead. There was a lot of shared services. I don't know if you know Adam Perkis.
You know, I know the name, yes.
Yeah. So Adam Perkis was on the shared service, and because we were part of marketing then. So there's a lot of people who are part-time doc writers and infrastructure and developers. And I was the first person who was hired full-time for the developer side. So I was doing a lot of the tools, a lot of the assessments that check your org to make sure you've done things right. And I wrote a lot of developer content. Then on the other side, you had Chris Duarte, who did all the admin side and all that content like that. And then of course you had Sandeep. So there was the 3 of us for a while. And then Kieran Jameson got hired. I'm sure you know Kieran, who's fantastic. And then we started adding more people, but now we're up to thousands of people on Trailhead now. It's crazy, you know, 100 engineers, you know, just
wow.
So yeah, but it was a great, it's a great experience. You know, it's funny, you see people like happy and motivated and wanting to help you. You know, those people are exactly the same way inside Salesforce work on Trailhead as you see them externally.
Right.
You know, we had meeting stand-ups, and Sandeep the first slide would always be thank you to our customers. And we would always have tweets of people who like their lives got changed from Trailhead. They got a new job. They were switching careers. And we would always make a point to look at people who were using Trailhead to change their lives and call them out, you know. We were grateful that people were using this product that we created. And we were literally changing people's lives. And I'll give you an example of people changing their lives. So we said we're old, right? So I have 4 kids. My daughter
Yes.
is a vet, and she was
Yes.
a firefighter, and she just had another baby, and she didn't want to do firefighting work because I'm not sure if you know that,
Right.
but I live in Florida. She lives in Florida here near me, and Florida's hot.
Yes.
Florida's hot.
Yeah. Very hot. Yeah.
And then you put a fire suit on, and then you go into fires, and it's even hotter. And so
Yes.
she didn't want to do that anymore. And plus, she would be working one day and she'd be on one day and off 2 days for 24 hours. She's missing her kid all the time. But anyways,
Yeah.
so I got her started on Trailhead. Well, after about 6 months on Trailhead, she became a ranger. She's now working with Geraldine Gray at NDM as a consultant.
Wow.
So then her husband, he was doing lawn care in Florida.
Uh-huh.
And during the pandemic, more hours, not much pay, people quitting like that. So he decided he wanted to do Trailhead. So he started, and about 6 months later, he became a ranger. He got a job at Traction, where there are a lot of our Perio
Yeah.
colleagues. So he was working at Perio. And then my daughter-in-law, who's married to my son, who's going to be the officer, she started doing Trailhead, and now she's working at NDM with Geraldine also. So three of people
Wow.
in my family have changed their lives because of Trailhead. So it's fantastic
Amazing.
and very personal to me. Very
Right.
personal.
So it's like military and trailhead is like if there was a Douglas family crest,
Yeah,
that would be it.
that's it. Yeah,
I don't know. A howitzer and a trailhead badge,
that's right.
or,
Yeah,
or
and Astro carrying howitzer.
Astro.
That'd be
There
pretty
you
cool.
go. That's the Douglas. That is the daughter. Is it, what's her name? Was it Brittany? Was it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
She was like a little girl when I met you.
Well, of course, we're old again now. We come back to that same full
God,
circle to that part that we're old.
that's
Yeah,
really disturbing. I think she might have been in high school or something. Or something.
probably. Yeah, that was like 15 years ago. Or no, 10, 15 years ago. Yeah, that's about
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Wow. So, getting back to the technology, one thing I don't know if I'm the only one who thinks about it, that Trailhead has you do an exercise in the org and then checks it. It's always amazed me that how accurate it is and how it does it. So is that a bunch of SQL queries, or what's going on with that?
Yeah. So Josh Burke wrote it first. So it's essentially, we had this. So let's say you have a badge and it has a unit, and there's like,
Yeah.
it says, okay, go in your org and create this report that does this.
Yeah.
When you hit that button, it actually loads up a bunch of code, and it checks against your org. And we don't have anything that's secret sauce that you guys don't have. We use the same REST API. We use the same SOAP API. We use all the same APIs you guys use.
Yeah.
And we're just making sure that you guys have done things right. So it starts with the problems. Like, okay, we want to figure out if someone has done this, and it's kind of like little research. Well, is there an API that does this? Does a tooling API allow us to grab this? And sometimes we can't. So there's a little secret, like it says, sometimes the channel will say, do A, B, C, D, and E. And we can only check for one thing because the API won't allow us to do it. So it's kind of like some of the things we don't really check for. But it's actually pretty cool. It's one of the secret sauces that we have on Trailhead is a hands-on challenge. And it's funny because the team, I'm on a team of about 4 of us who manages what's called the assessments engine. We have a microservice that runs all that. And we're called Team Sriracha because we're the secret sauce for Trailhead. But that's one of the main reasons the success of Trailhead is, like, I can actually tell if you've done things correctly versus you just doing a multiple choice quiz.
Right.
I think most people learn better by doing versus just by reading things.
Right. Absolutely. It's been a fantastic resource for millions of people, I think. Hundreds of, at least hundreds of thousands. As far as Trailhead goes, one thing that I've always wondered is, and I don't know if this exists or not, but is there a framework that say a big company has a big training need, right? And they have LMSs, and if they wanted to create their own badges, was there ever going to be a managed package or a way for them to use Trailhead like they would use Service Cloud or Sales Cloud? Or
there already is. We've been using it. My Trailhead has been out for a couple of years now.
Okay.
And so they akin to that, it's mostly no one's really creating their own hands-on challenges. They can create their own quizzes. Like that. So yeah, their own.
So it's a quiz engine.
Yeah. So you could, like, for instance, there's some companies that are huge, and there's one I'm not sure if I can tell the name about, but they've got 50,000 users.
Okay.
On my Trailhead, said their own accounts and everything. So they have their own modules. They write their own content.
Right.
It's their own badges, their own hands-on, our own quizzes, but no hands-on challenges
Okay.
right now. But there are a lot of companies that are using that right now, and we're trying to get Trailhead closer to core, like tied into core more.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. I don't think that's a mystery or a secret, but we want to be tighter with core. So
Yeah.
you're seeing it now. Now you notice that there's a little Trailhead icon in the upper right part of Salesforce now for things like that. So in some orgs.
Okay.
So, but we're trying to do that. But there are companies who are actually using Trailhead for their own training. And we've got a managed package called Trail Tracker.
Okay.
Trail Tracker. So you install Trail Tracker in your org, and every day it'll go out and call the Trailhead API, grab all your users' data, all the trails they're on, all the badges they're doing, and then it'll sync that down into your org, so that way you can go ahead and run reports on that. And then you can even assign them things too. You can actually assign them trail mix complete, and you can look at their progress and histories like that. So, and then once, of course, it's in your org, you can write your own, any custom logic you want against that report. So,
and create all your own content and badges and things like that.
Yep.
Interesting. That's pretty amazing. Where do you see, what do you foresee Trailhead, and this goes all under, what do they call it? The, when you can't say, put your investment into Salesforce because
it's just safe harbor.
The safe harbor.
Yeah.
Safe harbor. And speaking in generalities, where do you see Trailhead in 5 years from now?
That's a great question. I see it, a lot of it in core, because like I said, one of the problems we have with Trail Tracker is that it runs every day. So this is a managed package that I wrote like 4 years ago, and we have we have like 100,000 installs, and every day there's a scheduled job that makes a call to the API, and it just grabs everything. And for some orgs, that process runs for like 16 hours a day.
Yeah.
These big orgs. So it's just crushing the platform. So we want to get, because all it's doing is go out and getting data, and it's upserting in your org. And doing some other stuff too. But we want to get more of that stuff inside Salesforce, inside core, so that way you can actually do a lot of things, a lot of reporting, a lot of external lookups like that. So I think that you're going to see a lot more stuff, Salesforce, kind of owning Trailhead in there. So a hybrid of, because everything runs now on Heroku. So you'll see some Heroku stuff and some core stuff. There's going to be a lot more of a marriage between them, I think, coming up soon.
Oh. Trailhead runs on Heroku? Is that?
It's on Heroku, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, Heroku and some AWS stuff, yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. I used to be I remember when Salesforce bought Heroku, and I was kind of a Heroku fanboy, right? Because I like the idea of not paying per user, right? So you pay in dynos, and just the massive capabilities, right? Like you can put a massive amount of data on there. It never felt like Heroku really got incorporated in Salesforce proper, or it just kind of
I remember when I still at Perio, when they bought them in like 2014, something like that. I remember we had a problem getting deals done because you had to have two sets of paper. You had to have one set of paper for Salesforce and then a legal agreement for Heroku. I know it was a big deal, but now there's a lot of people at Heroku who came from Salesforce. I think it's a little better now.
Okay.
But it's still, they're different but the same.
Right.
But we work with them quite a bit. I mean, like I said, all of Trailhead runs on Heroku.
Right.
So we've got a pretty tight initiative. So we have tickets that go in. We get help right away because we know everybody. We'll make a phone call to one of the people that are over there. It's like that. So a lot of people on our team came from Heroku. And stuff like that. So, but we're big fans of Heroku, and I think you've seen the new Salesforce functions. That all runs on Heroku as well. So so we love Heroku. I mean, big fans of Heroku. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's much different. Like, core releases every 4 months.
Right.
Trailhead releases like every day, every week, so when we need to have a new feature, we'll just release it right away. It's a little different paradigm for customers because they're used to, as a Salesforce customer, used to having a release every 4 months and getting ready for it. Where at Trailhead, we were released like every week, every 2 weeks. And they're like, there's too much going on here. So we kind of synchronized. We're in the process of synchronizing more to a schedule that core goes into.
Okay.
It makes it easier on customers. So
It's funny, like when we started at Salesforce, there was you can know all of it.
yeah,
And now the platform is so expansive. It reminds me of, I don't know, I've lived in the same town for like the last 20 years, and you go down the same roads all the time. And sometimes you'll take a wrong turn and you'll be in some neighborhood. I'll be like, the hell am I? And it's like, it's kind of the same thing with Salesforce. Like hearing the My Trailhead thing, I should probably know that, but I didn't know that. And another thing I saw on your LinkedIn was work.com, which I've heard about in the background, but I haven't really taken a look at it. What is work.com? Does it still exist? Does it still have the
yeah,
same
it
name?
still
And what is
exists.
it?
It was mainly started so that way people could get back to work after the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I did some work on that. So we integrated Trailhead with that. So that way your customers could
Yeah.
use Trailhead to complete things like workplace safety,
Okay.
vaccination, how to, safely come in the building, what you have to do. And so you could track your progress of your employees who could come back to work safely.
Right.
There's a managed package for that you can install. And we've got I wrote a bunch of Lightning Web components that got installed with that and everything. But it was a cool team that got together and wrote that. We rolled it out pretty quickly, Salesforce wise, just in time for Dreamforce, because there's a huge need for that. How do you come back to work safely?
Right.
How do
Right.
you schedule that and manage that and like that, and make sure people have the right training and the right certifications to know how to, keep themselves safe in the workplace. So
Right.
it was a cool little project that came about, and I think that everybody did really well with that.
Yeah. How did the pandemic affect the Trailhead team?
No travel. That was the one because we were doing offsites. That was the big one.
Yeah.
Not too much really,
Right.
because almost everybody's remote. I think there was a few people. Well, there's probably about a third of people were in San Francisco, but
Okay.
they never had to be in the office.
Yeah.
We went in there just to kind of socialize and do the water cooler thing. But yeah, I think like everybody else, it was hard. But I don't think it was that big of a deal for us. I think that's the great thing about this industry. You can
Yeah.
work remotely. So I don't think it was a huge issue. It was more of an inconvenience. I'm like, hey, I used to hang out with these people all the time and get to know them, and now I don't know who my new teammates are and stuff like that. So that was part of
Yeah.
the thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. We've all had to adjust.
Yeah,
Um, when you look at Salesforce, I mean, there's so much to it now, right? And then
yeah.
you throw in Tableau, right, and stuff like that. But what technology in the ecosystem is kind of exciting to you now? What's like you're like pumped to see?
Well, I'm really excited about MuleSoft. To tell you the truth.
Okay.
So some of the people that are on Trailhead, they went to MuleSoft, and
Yeah.
more on the credentialing side. And I looked at it a couple months ago. I was like, man, this is some really cool stuff. Really
Okay.
cool stuff. There's a lot of great tools with MuleSoft for integration, and we had looked at it on Trailhead to use that as well, but we decided not to. That's right after we
Yeah.
bought it, like 3 or 4 years or something like that. But I'm really excited about MuleSoft. It's got a really neat design feature, and the whole life cycle of APIs. I think is really awesome the way they do that with MuleSoft. They've got a really nice designer, so you can design and plan out an architecture, UI, or your
Yeah.
API, and then build it and then deploy it in a runtime. And it's got some really, really neat stuff to it. Really neat stuff. Another thing I'm really excited about, which I know you are too, I think everybody is just on platform is just Flow itself.
Yeah.
I think Flow, as a developer, I love Flow. I don't have to raise
Okay.
this code anymore, and you can work with a customer and you can visually show them what this code is doing versus, looking at thousands of lines of
Yeah.
Apex code. And there's a lot more stuff coming out with Flow, a lot more,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. We're making a big, I'm not sure about big investment, but I know there's a lot of people working on the Flow team, and there's more stuff coming out. Because I actually
Right.
interviewed with that team once, and they have a lot of
Okay.
cool stuff coming out. So it's gonna be really neat.
Yeah, I am excited about Flow. And it's just you can kind of see how that paradigms can in the future can really be effective, right?
Yeah,
And kind of blur the line between admin and technical person, right? It's eventually, right now it's difficult, but and the thing with MuleSoft too is just like any from a consulting point of view, all the risk is well, there's user adoption, right? That's always a risk.
yeah.
And then the other thing is always integration, right? Anytime
Always
project
integration,
fails,
right?
It's integration's always twice as expensive and twice as hard as everyone thinks it's going to
And
be.
how many
So,
times did we do integration at a period? I mean, that's like every single project, everyone to integrate with everything, you know? How
oh
many
yeah,
Siebel cutovers did we do? We had to integrate with Siebel, you know? It's just
oh
everybody's
yeah.
got integration.
Although I don't see many integrations of Siebel anymore.
No, me neither. I think we did them all.
Yeah, they're all done. It's all done. Yeah. Um, Getting back to learning Salesforce, and man, hearing your daughter become a ranger in 6 months, and your son-in-law, I've been on Trailhead forever, and I'm not a ranger. And some of it is like I do it as needed, right? So I have
Yeah.
a new project. I had to learn omni-channel, so I just took a bunch of omni-channel classes on Trailhead. Uh, Such a fantastic resource. But how did you tell her to get started? Like, how does someone start from not from basically firefighter, right?
Yeah, so she said she wanted a chance at, you know, and she has heard from me saying how much I love Salesforce. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I can't say enough good things about it. And so one of the things which I thought was interesting, it didn't surprise. She's like, I'm not very technical. I'm like,
Right.
I don't know if you have to be technical. You're not going to be writing code. So she was always scared of the technical thing. And so we got started. I said, look, just start doing a couple modules. Here's a couple to start off with, and then just do the basic trail or the beginning admin trail. Just do the beginning admin trail and not knock that
Yeah.
out. And so she started doing that more and more, and she got that completed. Then she started working on the intermediate admin trail, and then she started doing a couple super badges, and then she got quite far along, and then we started her interviewing. And I'll tell you what, for not knowing anything, for being a firefighter, pitching missile
Sure.
operator, she is crushing it consulting. I mean,
Yeah.
it comes to show you don't have to have a degree in computer science
No.
to figure out how business works and how to implement Salesforce. All
Yeah.
you have to do is have the desire to learn and be
Yeah.
willing to learn, be able to learn. And I think that's
Right.
what you need to do. There's so many stories. Like, I can't remember the lady's name, but there's a lady who in Texas who worked at her family's cotton farm,
Oh
and
wow.
she changed her life with Trailhead about 3 or 4 or 5 years ago now. And now she's a CIO of some company in Texas. You
Holy
know,
cow.
anybody
Yeah.
can do this. You know, anybody can do it. You
Absolutely.
just got to have the will to do it. You know, because
Yeah.
you know how it is. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. You know, I can tell them
Right.
how to do Salesforce, do Trailhead. It's great, but if they don't actually do the work, you know,
Right.
it's not gonna happen. And I told her, I said, look, I have friends who want to get into Salesforce. I said, look, you go do Trailhead, you get so many badges, 25, 50, whatever. And if I see you doing the work, I will help you all you need. But if
Right.
you're not doing this work and getting these badges, I'm not gonna be so inclined to help you. But if I know you're
Absolutely.
doing it, I'll help. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think consulting takes a curious mind more than anything, and the ability to ask questions. And it also takes a certain amount of bravery. And I think if she's a firefighter, I think she had that down
Yeah.
before. Consult, like some angry CEO is not going to intimidate her, right?
No, no. Plus, she has 2 toddlers, so she can do anything though.
If
So
you can handle a toddler, you can handle any CIO in America. So she's probably overqualified for a position at
yeah,
this point.
yeah. And it's a great. I mean, you know, it's a great profession for people. And I think also, if you look at like my daughter-in-law who's military spouse, it's great
Yeah,
for her because now when they move to Tennessee or
yeah,
Oregon or North Carolina, whatever, she can keep the same job and not have to worry about a location dictates her pay. You know,
right.
which is great. And that's great for I think anybody that kind of thing. So, but especially for military, I think it works out really well. So
That's a really good point for military spouses. You know, you can work for, especially post pandemic.
yeah,
You, you know, HM's hiring people from all over the place, and it just doesn't matter, right? Like I, interviewed someone in South America today. It's just like, what does
yeah.
it matter?
And the whole Vet Force program, I'm not sure if you're familiar with. Well, it's called
Yes.
military now. You know, there's a ton of people. I'm on 2 calls a week from Vet Force, and there's a staff of like I don't know 5 or 10 people who just run Vet Force. You know,
Okay.
the program. And it's
Yeah.
fantastic the amount of people we get in there because I have one-on-ones with people who are having problems with super badges from the vet
Yeah.
community, and they're just great people. I mean,
Yeah.
it's spouses, it's children, it's military people coming out and transitioning. But they're doing a great job getting people into the ecosystem who have that military background. So
Yeah. I mean, that kind of thing jazzes me up so much when it's just like it's capitalism, right? It's the big engine running, but it's having such impact on people's lives, right? They're improving their lives, right? And it's just such a beautiful thing to see. And the generational consequences are huge,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Like,
just change your whole family. Like if like my daughter and her husband, if they hadn't got these jobs, they would still be doing lawn care and
yeah,
I don't know what else, but now their life is, I mean, they're making probably double, if not triple what they're making before. And their
yes.
quality of living is just improved dramatically.
And not running into burning buildings.
Yeah, which is not fun a lot of times, but yes.
Yeah. Metaphorically maybe, but
Metaphor.
not
Well,
not literally.
now when you're consulting, you typically run into a lot of metaphorical burning buildings. So,
Yes.
so maybe it's not much different. You never know.
I've lit some buildings on fire myself, metaphorically speaking, in a consulting job. But um, one final thing. I remember when you were a Perio, you took some time off, traveled around in an RV. Can you tell me about that experience and what was that like and what did you learn from it?
Yeah, we've done some crazy things. So yeah, this was like 2014.
Yeah.
Um, and it kind of led up into my job at Salesforce too. So we decided I know what it was. We had watched this TV episode of this company this family called the Kellogg family. And he
Okay.
was a web designer and they had like 7 kids and they bought an RV and they started traveling the US and they're having a blast. And my wife looked at her and said, we want to do that. So we decided, okay, we're going to do that. So my grandfather had like a big RV and we took that out a couple of times and,
Right.
hey, can we do this? How does this work? And so
Yeah.
we decided, okay, we're going to do this. So over the course of about a year, we sold everything in our house, just sold
Wow.
it all. And then we rented it out for a couple of years. And then, so for 2 years, we had our 3 girls and they were at the time, they were like 7 or 8 to, there was a 7-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 12-year-old, I think, roughly around there. And we
Yeah.
just started touring the US. And so I would work, my wife would drive the RV and I would work beside her on the computer, write a little MiFi.
Okay.
And then she would homeschool the 3 girls. And then they would go out and do like little day trips to educational places,
Yeah.
and we would just travel around there. We started in Florida and went all up to Maine and back down to Louisiana and the Southwest. And then we went to LA, then back up to Seattle, and then Alaska, and then we drove back through Canada and then Montana, the whole northern part of the US and then Michigan, and then we came back down to Florida at about 2 years to come for Christmas.
Wow.
As we were driving around, we found out we were much closer. We spent a lot of time with our girls. It was just a fantastic experience. They still talk nowadays. A little bit too young, some of them were to remember. Like my daughter, I asked her one day, like, where are we at, Lexi? She says, we're in Paris. Like, no, we're not in Paris, Lexi. So she's a little bit young, but the other ones remember quite a bit. But we got back home and we realized that during this trip, it kind of turned into a brewery trip. We did a lot of breweries because we were doing the beer. And my son, who just got in the Navy, was back in Florida. And so we said to him, hey, let's start a brewery. So this is like 2016. So we started a brewery. So we came back and we did that. And so he was our brewer. My wife and I ran it. She ran most of it. I helped out.
Yeah.
I had a job. And so we started this brewery and he was the brewer. And it was a 200-seat restaurant. And we were doing over $1 million a year at this brewery. So it was not a small. And so we had that about 3 years. And then we sold that.
Yeah.
And now we have llamas and alpacas. And we just bought a house in Kentucky we're renovating. So
fantastic.
Always new things. So we have a fancy alpaca ranch on Instagram. We have llamas and all that good stuff. And
I think being a Douglas is a full-time job itself.
Well, there's a lot of aspirin involved, a lot of headaches. Yeah, I do a lot of headaches. So
well, thank you so much, Jeff. It was great catching up with you, and it's great to see you doing well and hear the family's doing so well. It's nice to see them grow up.
Yeah, you too, man. Do people still confuse you with Reed Carlberg?
It's been a while, but there was 2 times where I remember being in the Salesforce office in Chicago, and I got a "Hey Reed."
I think I started that, by the way, that you would look like Reed Carlberg.
Okay, well, it came out a couple times. It's very funny, and I think I've been in face to face with Reed maybe once in my whole life, but he's a fantastic guy too. So
he just left Salesforce a little while ago. He was he's going on a new adventure in life. I don't know what it is yet, but he was a product manager for a long time. I loved Reed. He's a great dude. He did a lot of good things for Salesforce. for
He's
Trailhead.
just one of those people I enjoy his mind. It's just
Yeah.
like, so one of those unique people that, has his own perspective. And I love that. Speaking of own perspective, that's you all the way, Jeff.
Look at
So
this talk. You too, John.
you've
You
been
too,
an
buddy.
inspiration, and it's great seeing you again. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too. Thanks. I
Take
appreciate your
care.
time.
Anytime. Take
All
care.
right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.